To be honest with you, why should African leaders care? Why should Trump care about Africa? He shouldn't care about Africa, to the same extent that the African leaders really shouldn't care about a relationship either. If the relationship can be worked out, that's wonderful. But if President Trump is saying, I have a mandate from my own people to take care of my people, and I'm doing what I need to do to take care of my people, African leaders need to take that same position. You see, it takes two to tango. If President Trump does not want a relationship with Africa, Africans shouldn't be begging for it. What's happening in Burkina Faso must be supported. What's happening in Mali must be supported. What's happening in Niger must be supported. If you care the least bit about our future, how else are we going to get France out of Africa? How else are we going to get Britain, Germany, all those former colonizers? They're now in as multinationals, siphoning billions out of Africa, using safe havens to hide their returns. We know they're here. They are now wolf in sheep's clothing. I challenged ECOWAS when they were trying to mobilize the military to go and fight Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Oh, we can have a coup. I said, help me understand something. France has had coups against these nations. When France is forcing these countries to deposit their bank reserves with France, that's a coup, an economic coup. When France is making sure that all natural resources for these countries belong to France, that's a coup. But by and large, with the exception of Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali that said, France, pack your bags and go home. The rest of the African countries are still subject.
What's up, guys? Welcome back onto my YouTube channel. My name is Joseph Malika. Kindly, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, remember to subscribe, like, share, and also comment. So today we are going to see an Pan-African activist, Dr. Arikana, who has come up asking our leaders not to force themselves onto the white leaders, asking our African leaders to unite, asking our African leaders to support all Africans and uproot all the colonial rules, uproot all the colonial system of government, and stand up with our own system of government so that we can make Africa a better continent. She has also come up asking why African leaders are forcing themselves onto white leaders instead of focusing on their own people, like the whites do focus on their own nations, creating employments, creating job opportunities, and making good use of their resources. So guys, watch this video up to the end and I'll be back shortly with more comments.
Call to the African leaders to take inventory of what is really happening in their countries. Do they really need the peanuts that are coming in as aid? You have your natural resources. You have everything you need to take care of your people. Why do you continue to be beggars? You take, for example, cocoa. Majority of the cocoa coming out of the world comes from West Africa, and yet it's only recently that African nations were allowed to add value to their cocoa. President Traore is standing up. He is saying the natural resources in Burkina Faso, they belong to the people of Burkina Faso. Niger is doing the same thing. Mali is doing the same thing. Every leader must look at what's happening in the Sahel nations to say, like anybody else, you must take care of your people. You see, it takes two to tango. If President Trump does not want a relationship with Africa, Africans shouldn't be begging for it. Africans must take a position and protect their turf. China wants to come and exploit Africa, they'll get away with it to the extent that Africans allow them. I think that what was done to brainwash black people around the world, long before they even left Africa, we are still suffering from that legacy of colonization, the legacy of slavery, where the people in power, they themselves don't believe they can do it. We still have leaders who believe you can't make it unless you're working with white people. We have individuals who think only something brought in by white people is what's likely to succeed. With that kind of mentality, it is a very difficult battle. Our battle to succeed, to unite as the African continent, it is a battle of the mind. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to your home. The Great Africa House right here in Georgetown, Washington, D.C. To the presidents who are sitting at the podium, I want to take a moment to thank you for taking your time in your busy schedules to come and join us on this momentum occasion. To my sisters, Chairman of President of NAFIO, thank you again. This was last minute, but you had the call and you answered and you jumped up and you are here today. To my sister, Ms. Jensen, to my brother, Kojo Yanka, some of you, I have to give a shout out. He's writing a book titled From Jamestown to Jamestown. I can't wait, it's gonna be a thriller. To all my other diaspora sisters, members of PADIA, members of PADWA, we truly are grateful for you taking the time to come here today. Roland Martin back there, this is my first time to see you in person. A lot of people don't look the same on television as they are in person. I have to say, you look exactly like what I had expected you to look like. Thank you for taking the time to come here. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed an honor to stand in front of you this afternoon to celebrate this momentous occasion. And of course, I always forget my husband, Sab Kwao. He's sitting somewhere back there. Sab, raise your hand. Everybody's looking. A friend of mine reminded me, because I always call him, he's an old shoe that is very comfortable to wear. And so a friend of mine called this morning and said, so how is the old comfortable shoe? And I said, still very comfortable. Thank you all again. And my sister Remy, Chairman of PADWA, thank you again for also always being there, ready to step up and do your part as we come together to uplift our motherland. I took office 2.5 years ago as a dumb, ignorant family physician coming from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. I had no idea what I was going to be doing in Washington. As a matter of fact, I actually felt kind of funny and silly, thinking me, a medical doctor, can be a diplomat. But be it as it may, singularly, the one thing, I came here, by the way, with no plans of staying. I was coming here top 6 months. After 6 months, look at my husband, honey, I tried, it didn't work out. Look at the chairman of the African Union who had appointed me. Thank you, Madam Zuma, it was great, but I could not do it. But 5th month into this position, one issue that kept coming to me and became very apparent was the disrespect for the African. I knew it existed, I just didn't understand the depth and the profoundness of it. And not only that, as I began to understand it even deeper, I began to also understand its economic implications when it comes to how we are perceived on the world stage, how this simple fact of simply disrespecting the African had serious implications and is at the root cause of why Africa is not able to move forward. And as I went and tried to understand and dig further to say, what is it about us as black people around the globe? Why is it that we are so disrespected no matter where you go? And I often say, was there a memo sent out to say wherever you go, if you are not a black person, you see a black person, you're automatically superior to them, and you have a right to disrespect them? This memo did not miss anybody. It went to non-black people, but here's the real shocker. It also went to us black people to say, accept that you are inferior. You automatically take an inferior position. And I'm going to have to tell you something that has become a realization that and this is where I am stuck as I try to understand, how did this message just go through and percolated so through? Now we are on automatic pilot. pilot, it's almost as if we had undergone a genetic mutation. We don't even have to be told. We pass it on to our children. Have you ever wondered, of all the colors on earth, why were two colors chosen? Black color and white color. Follow me on this one. You take a white color, you're associated with Jesus Christ. You're associated with the angels. You're associated with purity and everything wonderful and everything desirable. And then you take a race that's not even white and you say you are white. Yes. And then you take another color. You're associated with the devil. You're associated with everything undesirable. I've never seen a bank robber wearing a white mask. All the villains on movies are black. Everything undesirable is black. And then you take another race that are not even black and say, you guys, you are black. Yeah. Now go at it. Speak, my sister. As we black mothers are trying to raise our children in our own homes, as much as we try to tell them that you're black and you're beautiful, guess what? The minute they step outside the door, the messages are completely different. A barrage of subliminal messages telling our children that that which you represent is horrible. Yeah. How do we fight against that? How do I tell my granddaughter that you're black and beautiful, but the world tells her otherwise? The voices echoing her blackness as a symbol of everything undesirable are much, much louder than even we black mothers. We come together, we can never drown those subliminal messages. They were all by design. Let me take you to the beginning. Certainly for Africa, your continent. Because as we gather here today, as we try to strategize, as we try to create those linkages between those Africans away from the continent and the Africans on the continent, we must understand, how did we get here? And for Africa, it starts with that monumental decision when the colonizers, came together in Berlin in 1884. And let me say, prior to 1884, they were coming to Africa in a haphazard way. They had started with slavery. And then when they felt like they needed the slaves to stay on the continent, they say, oh, we no longer believe in slave trade. Let's stop it. No. It was really just another way of saying the labor is needed on the continent. Let's keep the monkeys on the continent so we can continue to exploit them. So 1884, they met in Berlin to organize themselves so they can effectively loot from the monkeys. They did not meet in Berlin to see to it that Africa would prosper. No. Let me repeat. The colonizers met in order to see to it that your Africa, our Africa, and her children, not only on the continent, are forever defeated and dominated. That was 135 years ago. The manner in which they did it, they took out the map of Africa while the Africans were sleeping, minding their own business. Started to chop up your continent into the tiny little countries that we see today. The bigger and more powerful a kingdom was, the more countries that came out of it. Not only more countries, but these countries were given to different colonizers who spoke different languages. Let me bring it home for a second. Pretend you're driving from Zambia, you're speaking English. Pretty soon you are in Angola, you're speaking Portuguese. Then DRC, French. Equatorial Guinea, Spanish. Southern Cameroon, French. Southern Cameroon, English. Northern Cameroon, French. You are now in Nigeria, English. Hello. These were the same people. Prior to 1884, we were powerful, amazing kingdoms with well-established educational and religious systems. If the truth be told, we had the civilization. We were the civilized. They were the devils, the uncivilized ones. They said set out to take everything that symbolized civilization in Africa. To this day, they're still refusing to give up those relics. If those relics were not that good, why are you keeping them? We were way ahead of them in our civilization. They set out to destroy us. And Berlin Conference put the nail on that coffin. So they gave Djibouti the same sovereignty as the United States. They gave Burundi the same sovereignty as China. They gave Togo. You see, the EU realizes individual little countries, they can't survive on the world stage. So they come together as the European Union. Now picture this now. So they cut up this Africa into the tiny little countries, small economies that could never survive on their own, but gave them the same sovereignty as the big boys. So that way, when the little bitty countries go to the world stage for the purposes of development and discussing trade, they're wannabe boxers who are being thrown into the heavyweight boxing ring every day. How do you put China in the same boxing ring with Eswatini? Eswatini has 1.2 million people. China has 1.4 billion people. And you put them on the same stage and say, go at it, negotiate. Are you with me?
Yes.
This is insanity of the highest order. How have we allowed this carnage to go on? When Eswatini is thrown in the same boxing ring with China and Eswatini collapses before Eswatini even gets on the stage, the world says, well, Eswatini, what's wrong with you? Why can't you take care of your people? Well, China came in and said, Eswatini, give me all your gold or else. And if Eswatini does not agree, they just go on next door to Lesotho and give Lesotho an extra $1. And if Lesotho doesn't take it, they just jump on to Togo, Central African Republic. It was all by design. 1884. They did something else in addition to chopping us up. They also set out to make the African believe that everything African was bad and undesirable, and everything Western, particularly French and British, was more desirable. We call that the legacy of colonization. Prior to that, they had started long working on the slaves. Make them think everything about them, forget anything about Africa. Where you come from is a horrible place, diseased and dying people, constantly at war with themselves, uncivilized. Cut out any communications with them. You need to just know what we tell you. And we call that the legacy of slavery. So that's where you look at where we are today. 135 years later, a system that was put in place to see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated, that Africa is forever exploited, remains in place today, alive and well. And we sit here and we ask ourselves, why isn't Africa moving forward? Why does Africa continue to be taken advantage of? Well, I'll tell you why, very simply. Until Africa comes together as a continent speaking with one voice, one continent, one people, nothing, and I repeat, nothing is gonna change. As individual little African countries, we are wannabe boxers. We will never make it fighting against the heavyweights. We must speak with one voice. Yeah. And this is exactly what our Pan-African leaders wanted to see happen in 1963 when they came together in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. They clearly stated that Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, and that African Union was now. They said Africa must speak with one one voice. It is the only way for Africa to take its rightful place on the world stage. Sadly, when they went to Addis Ababa in 1963, they were divided. We had two factions, the Casablanca group and the Monrovia group. The Casablanca group were saying Africa for the Africans at home and abroad, and African Union now. This was Ghana, Guinea, Mali, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia. Only 7. The other 25 of the 32 who attended were the Monrovia group. They were the nationalists. They said, let's go slow. Let's kind of wait on this Pan-African thing. 55 years later, 56 this year, we're still going slow. As if it wasn't bad enough that we were divided up into the tiny little countries that we are today. The gift that Berlin Conference gave us. One other thing that France did between 1958 and 1961 in the name of giving us our independence as African countries. France forced the Francophone, and I hate that terminology. There is no such thing as Francophone, Anglophone. They made it up. But for the purposes of communication, I will use that. 14 of those countries, they said, in order for you to get your independence from us, you must sign this document. You thought they could have found a better name for the document. The document was called the Pact for the Continuation. I repeat, the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. We are talking about giving you independence, but sign this pact for the continuation of colonization in a different format. And I'm going to highlight some of those issues that they said you must agree to if you are going to be independent. Hello. Maybe we need to redefine the meaning of independence for the French. First, France said, you see, you monkeys, you don't know how to manage your money. We're going to demand that you deposit 85% of your bank reserves with the French Minister of Finance. Under the French Central Bank, under the control of the French Minister of Finance. France is then going to take your 85% bank deposits from each and every one of you. Deposit those funds in the French stock market under the French name. And you may or may not know the returns. Today, as we speak, the latest figures are saying for every 14 billion that France invests in the stock market from Africa, they are realizing upwards of 300 billion in return. Every year in, year out, because of these deposits from the African countries, France is taking out of Africa over $500 billion. Now figure it out. For every 14 billion, the returns on the investment are over 300 billion, and they are taking over 500 billion. So in actuality, France is taking out of Africa trillions of dollars year in and year out from us poor people, Africans. Back to the pact. So should you want to access some of your money that you have deposited with France, you have to submit your country's financial returns. And if approved, you get to get it as a loan. You can only access up to 20% of your money year in, year out as a loan at commercial interest rates. Your own money. As if that was not enough. They said all your minerals discovered, yet to be discovered, all your oil discovered, yet to be discovered. France and French companies have the first right of refusal. If there's anything left over that the French companies do not want, your people might have. To this day. They said, you will only use the currency that we created for you because you're special Africans. We call it the CFA. There was the Central African CFA and the Western African CFA, same animal. And that France is the only one that can print it for you. 1958. Fast forward. They're still printing it for us. And if you start misbehaving, they just stop printing your money. And your country's in trouble. They also said your language of instruction shall be French, whether you like it or not. That France will have military presence in your country, that your military can only be trained by France, that you can only buy military equipment from France, that you cannot have any military alliance with your neighbor, and that in the event of war, your allegiance is only to France. And furthermore, because they have military presence in your country, they can invade you without notice should they feel that the interests of France in your country are being violated.
Teach, sister, teach. Speak on, sister.
Fast forward, 2019, nothing has changed. The same people who have the audacity to tell us that we are poor countries, they are taking trillions out of Africa every year. And what is the African doing? Like an obedient, programmed black man, we just give in. We know the facts, but we just do nothing about it. Now, you have to say some of the fears are real, because in France that has sold you inferior equipment to theirs, France that has trained your military to be inferior to their military, they are now in your country. They can invade you. They have the permission to do so. They can destabilize you. And then one might say, why is it that African leaders haven't done anything about this deplorable situation? Well, let me tell you, my brother and sister, they have tried. Documented to this day, 22 coups where leaders were assassinated. France had something to do with it. The first 7, when they decided they were pulling out of the CFA and that they're going to print their own money, they were assassinated. Every time an African leader has tried to do what's best for their country, they were assassinated. Majority of them aided by France. It's a known fact. And then others, they were just mercenaries who felt that when there was a natural resource discovered in one country, they wanted to create a coup. So while the country is thrown into a civil war, they're siphoning the natural resource. We know of one particular story that had we not known about it, it would have been, oh, there we go again, the Africans. In about 25 years ago, a group of young, rich white kids were having fun in Cape Town. They found out that there was oil in Equatorial Guinea that had just been discovered, and they wanted it. So they set out a plan to have a coup in Equatorial Guinea. So while the Guineans are busy fighting a civil war, they will be siphoning the oil. But they made one mistake. There were 2 planes. One was to leave South Africa, stop in Zimbabwe, pick up more ammunition on their way to hunt in Equatorial Guinea. Another plane was taking off in the Caribbean that had this puppet diaspora who was supposed to be the next president. Mugabe wondered why such young people needed such powerful ammunition to go hunt in Equatorial Guinea. In doing his research further, he found out that this was a coup in the making. He allowed them to land in Zimbabwe. They loaded their plane, and just before takeoff, they were all arrested. The ringleader of that group was none other than the son of the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Margaret Thatcher. She had to fly to Zimbabwe and paid handsomely to get her son out. The last one of those prisoners left Zimbabwe about 6-7 years ago. Had these young people succeeded, it would have been another coup. There you go, the Africans again. Such my brothers and sisters, is the story of your Africa. They don't do coups anymore. They simply create instability. So when you hear of an instability in an African country, ask yourself, what is really going on? Because what they are telling you is really going on is just a shiny object. The real issue is over here. And you need to stop before you start being used as an instrument of your own self-destruction. They want to throw to you, our African leaders are corrupt. I just love that buzzword. Remember what I said, we need to define some of these words for them. Do you really want to know what corruption is? I like to think as black women, and we're going to talk about us black women here. We're smart people. There are two thieves. One is carrying a briefcase with $50 billion, which is what they say, gets out of Africa every year for corruption. And by the way, they only tell you the 50 billion gets out of Africa. They don't tell you where it's going. You see, corruption is a team sport. We want all players. We want all players to come to the table. Okay, fine, we give it to you. 50 billion is going out of Africa. And then there's another thief over here with a briefcase with 500 billion sisters. Which one should we go after first? Wow. They want us to spend time. I am not saying we should not talk about corruption out of Africa. Don't get me wrong. Yes, we must talk about the thief carrying the $50 billion, but we must also not forget the thief that is carrying 500 billion. And by the time that thief is done investing that 500 billion, we're looking at trillions out of Africa. Now, do you see how quickly the 50 billion becomes the larger crumb under the table? And they're busy pointing at you. Oh, you see your brother, he got the bigger crumb under the table. I'm like, hell no, I want to be on the table. Don't get me stuck in the mud under the table when the real issues are on the table. We are not even on the table, my brothers and sisters, to tackle the issues that truly matter for our Africa. We must realize that. Let's refuse to fight over which brother got the bigger chunk under the table. That's right. We want to get on the table. That's right. And the only way for us to get on the table is to understand our circumstances, is to understand how we got here, to see our Africa with 2020 vision. So we, the beautiful, intelligent, sophisticated, highly adaptable, and totally indestructible Africans can do what we need to do to move our Africa from the doldrums where we were left by the Berlin Conference, from the losing lane that we were left in by the Berlin Conference, into the right lane, where we can truly look at our issues and address them as Africans for Africa. So all is not lost, my brothers and sisters. The wishes of our Pan-African fathers from 1963, March last year, the African leaders got together and signed a decision that is now putting us on the path to finish the unfinished business of the Berlin Conference. They signed what we are now calling the African Continental Free Trade Area, where Africa is now going to negotiate as a bloc, as one continent, one Africa, one heart, one soul, one mind. Yes, sir. 52 African heads of state signed that agreement. We only needed 22 to ratify. Exactly 13 months later. This is something that the colonizers were laughing at us. You Africans, you'll never put this through. This CFTA thing, you'll never get the ratifications. Years down the line, it's never going to happen. It's going to be a piece of paper in a drawer somewhere. Because the reality is, ratifications, my brothers and sisters, do take a long time. They take years. But guess what? 13 months. April this year, the 22nd ratification was deposited to the African Union. We're now sitting on 23 and more are coming. Because you know what? The sleeping giant is rising. The sleeping giant has found her teeth, and you recognize, let me underscore, the sleeping giant has found her teeth. Yes. Her teeth.
Yes.
Game is over. When I speak to businesses in this country, my mandate is to see to it that Africa and the United States are the best partners the world has ever seen. America, the United States, and the Americas is the only region that has a heritage connection to Africa. And it is for that reason, in particular, that I'm on a mission to see to it that the marriage between Africa and the United States is the best marriage the world has ever seen. It is a marriage that's going to give birth not only to many children, but many beautiful children. I'm a woman on a mission.
Yes. Yes.
And that's why. That is why it is important that we begin to understand each other. That the misconceptions, the misunderstandings, the Africans don't understand the Americans, and the Americans don't understand the Africans. Our Caucasian brothers and sisters come to the negotiating table on a high horse. To them I say, get off your high horse.
Yes.
And we come to the negotiating table feeling automatically inferior. I also say to all of us, you are just as good as anybody else. Get off that underground. You need to rise up somewhere in the middle. We must rise up, they must come down. And somewhere in the middle is where we are going to have the truly desired, meaningful conversations that are going to take us where we need to be. And this is why we are here today.
Thank you.
My son Kwame, I thank you for all the wonderful creating that bridge that's going to get us to the table with a clear mind, clear vision, understanding that when we understand each other, it is then and only then can the children of Africa take their beloved continent to its rightful place on the world stage, the place that we have vacated for far too long, but we are now saying enough is enough. We, the children of Africa, as a united front, we're going to come, join our hands, and sing the best melody the world has ever heard as we waltz our way to our motherland, not as 55 African countries, not as 1.27 billion brothers and sisters on the continent, not as over 400 million African diaspora around the globe, but children of one mother Africa. Let's give the world the best melody the world has ever heard. You see, birds sing not because they can, they sing because they have a song. As children of one mother Africa, we do have a song. Let's join hands. Let's give that world that beautiful song as we waltz our way across the Atlantic back to the motherland. I thank you.
What if I tell you that Africa's most loved leader is being targeted and we might be making it worse? Yes, let's talk about something really serious today. We all know how Captain Ibrahim Traore came to power. But since then, he has done so much for his people in such a short period of time, much more than some African leaders have done in decades. He is focused, he is determined, and he is deeply loved. We all saw on the 30th of April how Africans all over the world came out to support him, not in violence, not in hate, but with love and unity. That shows the level of hope and inspiration he brings. Some of us Africans, we wish that our leaders can follow what Ibrahim Traore is doing, to lead with integrity and to put their countries first. But this is where we need to pay great attention. We already know that Captain Ibrahim Traore is under threat. His actions and his bold moves are shaking up systems that do not wish to see Africa rise. And we are making matters worse by spreading fake videos, spreading fake news all over the media. There is a particular video that is circulating all over the media of President Donald Trump saying that Ibrahim Traore is a threat because he wants to unite Africa, that the United States is going to come for him. This video is not real. This video is dangerous. It is not dangerous because it's fake. is dangerous because it puts a real target behind his back. This video is misleading and could cause real problems. And for those of you who always share videos, when you see videos like that, before you share them, please try to verify if that video is true or false, because you might just get into trouble at some point in your life without even knowing where the problem came from. The social media is very powerful. If we genuinely love Ibrahim Traore and support what he stands for, let us allow his good works to speak. Let us report the real things that are happening in Burkina Faso. Let us support him with truth. Let us support him with honesty. Let's stop manipulating the media, because he is already doing a lot of good works, and some of those good works is what is putting him in the position where he is today. Thank you all for watching. As you all know me, I stand for One Africa, and this video I'm making today is coming from a place of love. So thank you again, and let me know what you think about this video. See you in the next video.
This man just told America your services are no longer needed. This man just told America that your services are no longer needed. If y'all don't know who this is Ibrahim Traore. I hope I'm saying your name right, brother. I apologize if I'm not, okay? He is the president of Burkina Faso. Listen, I'm an American nigga and I'm not an African nigga, so my dialect is a little skewed. Just forgive me, charge it to my mind, not my heart. But listen to this story, right? So this dude became president and he said, you know what? We wiping away all student loan debt from little school all the way up to university. Not only that, he said, listen, well, I'm the president of, we got the most gold and stuff that all these other countries is mining. He told all of them, listen, America, France, everybody out there, listen, we don't need y'all to mine our gold. We can do it ourselves, and we can handle our own affairs and situations when it comes to this gold. Okay? Now that he done did that and started taking over what is rightfully theirs over there, okay? They done attempted to take this man's life almost 16 times. Almost 16 times. I know it sounds crazy, but they trying to get him up out of there. Why? Because this man knows his country's worth, and they scared of that. And let me tell you something. This brother ain't shit the bull neither now. Certified stepper. Willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that his point gets across, that Africa no longer needs supervision. Sidebar. I don't know if I'm going crazy or I really believe in this man, but something about the goddamn red beret make me want to stand beside him. I digress. Y'all go catch up on this story. I'm telling y'all, this man bad, bro. And they trying to blind us and not tell us what's going on. I'm just here to bring y'all the news. I'm just a messenger.
You guys know what I hate? It's the fact that they are going to use a black man to try to eliminate our hero. The African hero, the living hero right now is Ibrahim Traore, who is improving the lives of Africans, the lives of Burkina Faso in West Africa, okay? And they're gonna try to use the tactic they did when our beloved Obama, President Barack Obama, had to eliminate Gaddafi in 2011. Ugh, I hate seeing it. I know many African Americans would not back this man right here, but let this serve as a reminder that it does not matter who sits on the presidency in the United States. They will always put U.S. interests first. That's what they did with Gaddafi. Look at Libya. Where's Libya right now? A tragic. Did it improve because Gaddafi was eliminated? No. It just set the continent of Africa backwards because he was very proud Pan-Africanist and tried to move past the neo-colonialism that Africa today is still fighting. He was willing to challenge the West. We're seeing that happening right now. So stay alert and do not believe whatever narrative is being put out there by the Western media, because this guy truly is a hero. And as long as he stays alive, we can see a shift that actually benefits Africans as whole. Because if you simply trade fairly, Africa is so rich. We have gold, diamond, copper, you name it, it's all there in the continent of Africa. And it's just being misused, it's being looted, and anyone that's actually wanting for the people of Africa to benefit, it's always a threat to the West. So stay alert and let's continue speaking so they know that we cannot be fooled like how we were fooled in 2011. Many Africans still grieve the death of Gaddafi. Although I will say, I did run into a few Libya, and they don't have a lot of nice things to say about Gaddafi, so I'm not too sure, and I can respect their opinion from afar. But overall, keep an eye on our living legend for now, because he's literally the only hope we have as Africans abroad and in the continent. So stay well.
So guys, I hope you have watched this video, and now I'm very happy bringing Dr. Arikana, African activist, to this channel today. This is a fearless woman who is fighting for our African rights. He has come up stating why we Africans are still behind in everything that we are doing. She has also spoke about why we Africans we are still undermined when it comes to economics. She has given us an example of Donald Trump, the President of the United States. Is a president who is concerned only about his people, who is fighting the rights of his people. But we Africans or our African leaders are coming up asking friendship with Donald Trump. But Donald Trump doesn't want to be a friend to our African leaders. He is only concerned on his white people. He is only concerned on making better lives of his people. He does not want to make friendship with our African countries. But a question is, why are we forcing ourselves onto white leaders? Why are we following up the government system of our colonial periods? Dr. Arikana is asking us to stop what we are doing or to stop forcing ourselves onto the white colonial system of government. She has said we are still behind in everything only because we were brainwashed. She has come up saying that we African countries we must unite only for us to have better lives. She has given an example. Let us look at Ibrahim Traore. He's a very young leader who has come up uprooting all the colonial system into his country. He has united his people. He has made lives of his people easier by fighting for them, by uprooting all colonial system of government. He has said that the whites or our other African countries are following up or are creating friendship which at late times it costs our economics. Africa has resources of African has resources that can be used into our own country. We can make our own job opportunities. Dr. Arikana is fighting for African rights. All black people into Western countries, all black people into white countries. He has asked us to come together and ask or and know our rights because we have been oppressed for years, and now it is time to be wise and create our own lifestyle. Like you have seen the black Africans or the black Americans who are into America going onto streets to demonstrate for their rights have been oppressed. They don't get equal rights when it comes to having or getting their necessary needs to survive. So my aim is to let us come together, let us create unity, let us support each other, let us fight for our rights, we as Africans. Let our leaders not force themselves onto white leaders or Western leaders. Let them focus onto forming or making our government, our countries better. Let them focus on uniting Africans. Let them focus on things that can improve our African countries. I'm very happy because I've seen we Africans, all the black Americans, all the black people in different countries, in different continents, they have risen up and are now coming out asking for their rights, or knowing that they are very important also because they have been oppressed for over the colonial period when they were turned into slaves. But now they have wizened because they are now tired of what they have been going through. So let us come together. Let us support our brothers and sisters. I'm very happy on the black Americans who went to street asking for their rights. Let them be treated as same as the white people. Let us not only think of the whites, we are also very important. And now that if we wisen more and more, we will be great and we will create a very better continent, that is Africa. So guys, if you haven't subscribed onto my YouTube channel, remember to subscribe, like, share, and also comment. See you on to my next video. Bye.